So for psychology class, I picked Bonfriend-Berner's ecological systems framework, and his theory was first introduced in the 1970s, and it suggests that an individual's development is influenced by a series of interconnected environmental events. So the first part of this will be the microsystem, and this layer is the closest to the individual and consists of multiple relationships like family, school, peers, your neighborhood, the daily interactions that you will experience. The next system up is the mesosystem. This encompasses the interactions between two or more settings that are significant to the individual, as the relationship between families and teachers, between the individual's family and their peer group. So people who are secondary, not like directly interacting with you, but you and other people. And the exosystem is a system that contains larger social structures that do not directly contain the individual but influence their immediate environment. For example, the parent's workplace or the stress of losing their job is transferred to the kid through their home environment. And the broader system is social and cultural norms, like attitudes that come into play over reaching system beliefs and customs and values of cultural can greatly impact an individual's ability to cope and adapt. And we have the chronosystem. This refers to the patterning of the environmental events and transitions over life, as well as sophisticated circumstances. As example, growing up during a war or a significant societal upheaval can impact an individual's resilience. Now, I'm going to provide a purpose and scope of the assignment. So this theory is actually pretty solid as is. I mean, this is 99% of the time going to accurately determine why an individual is the way it is. The only way I think I could increase the individual scope would be adding a genetic factor to the individual. I do believe that certain people will respond to the same environment differently. No, even if they have identical, like you take two people, put them in the same environment, they're going to have different outcomes because as an individual, you perceive things differently, whether the environment is there or not. So I would go with that and propose a methodological improvement or alternative approaches that can strengthen the theory's empirical support, adding a genetic factor and determining how resilient a person is going to start off as. Some people are inherently more resilient and some people are more able to find patterns within a system and figure out what's actually going on versus being swept under by it or getting overwhelmed with it. Conceptual clarity and ambiguities within the theory. So this would be more like, I guess I'd make it a little bit more clear between the microsystem and the mesosystem. I would put teachers in the microsystem because they do directly speak with you and they do directly impact you. And at home life would also be in the mesosystem. But I think the third one, for people coming home from work and the work stressing out the parents, stressing out the kid, would also be in the mesosystem because it's secondary. So your primary people, so people directly interacting with you, and then people interact with people who interact with you, affecting their reactions towards you. And the third thing would be like people out farther out than that, like bosses, financials, like the country's system in place for the third one, because this would make it more evenly structured. Because this is a good theory, but it is a little bit loose and up to interpretation for some of these between the meso and chronosphere, which could cause some issues when you're trying to analyze a person's environment. But it still holds pretty well. I mean, it's not impossible to determine. Recommend strategies for enhancing the theory's practical ability in various state settings. So I use this theory when you're trying to assess the life events of someone. So if you're writing a biography or someone who's older, but someone who's like younger, this might not be as effective because they haven't actually grown up and developed. So it might be very hard to cater a plan to make them more resilient or understand why the way they are because they haven't fully developed as a person. This is very useful if you are older and you're in your 50s and you've lived most of your life. It's very easy to determine because a lot of the choices that you've made to combat resilience are choices you've made, not choices you've been subjected to. And that's all I got to say for that part. Discuss how these ethical situations could be more thoroughly integrated into the theory or its application. So ethical situations would be the person's personality themselves, I guess their environment, and I guess the way how you can use it to help people build more resilience. This could be applied to people who are in their 50s or 40s who are older, who have like some resilience issues. And this theory could be used to analyze that person's life decisions and figure out how to make a game plan for them to become more resilient versus a younger person who might not be fully in their control, so the decisions being made aren't really theirs, they're just reacting to it, which makes it more difficult to just sell someone like, oh yeah, it's just the way it is. This would be very helpful for someone who's older in trying to boost their resilience. But this theory as an application and figuring out why things the way they are, still very good. Reflecting the importance of ongoing critique and development in psychological theory. So the reason it's important is like science. If things have to be constantly tested to prove them true. If people stop testing things to prove they're true, they may lose their strength as an argument as it's been untested, but it also keeps the theory updated and relevant to what's going on in today's world, especially with the world of digital and AI, which is going to connect a lot of other countries together that weren't connected before and change the way information is spread. So it's very important to keep critiquing these theories and making sure they are still valid and hold true years later. And that is my end of the video. Good luck, everyone, and have a good day.